Sweet. We're live.
We are.
Live and direct. From our home to yours. Without the creepy crawling in the window.
Right? Okay, let's see here.
Let me know when we start getting some people in. And
okay. We got a couple in right now. It looks like. Yes, we are here.
Yes, we are here.
We'll give it just another minute or so. Let everybody hop in. I think that just went there just went the notification out. So
all right, let's get everybody a couple minutes to get in then.
Yep.
We don't want to start too early. Got plenty of time. Thank you to everybody that's already here.
Looks like we got Gunny, Spokane, PDF, San Joaquin. Hey,
what's up, San Joaquin?
Hardy, James,
what's up, James?
UK. Sure is, Robert. Evening, Chris. Okay, we got a couple people in here now. Seems to be there's a little lag on the system tonight, though, for some reason. I don't know why.
All right. Was that with me or you or all of us?
I think it's all of it, all the way around, I think it's the whole, all of it, it seems like tonight. That's what it seems like anyway.
The whole enchilada.
Yep, everything.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to take a second and set up my laptop so I can see any questions coming in about the chat we're having. And then we'll go ahead and get started on it. Tonight's topic is going to be the 1983 lawsuits that everybody should be filing if you're in the game. It's something that is going to make them think, twice about violating people's rights when they realize that there are some repercussions for what they're doing. Let me just pull this up real quick. Might take me a second. For those of you that are in the stream and want more information, I have provided Eyes on the State a link that he'll throw up in the live chat, and we'll also put it in the comments after the live stream is over and comments are active. We'll throw up that link, and that link is to a PDF. It's about 180 some odd pages, and it goes over pretty thoroughly the 1983 suit, who's liable, who's not, what elements you need in order to pursue a case.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Just the link I was going to give was not the way I wanted to do it. Just keep going.
Okay. So it's put out by the Ninth Circuit Court, group of lawyers there for the Ninth Circuit Court. So, and pretty informational. It should be able to help a lot of people out.
Hey,
a lot of people say, that they don't have the smarts, I guess, to do something about it. But they make it kind of easy for pro se litigants. It's even easier because there's a leniency, I guess you could say, towards pro se litigants' complaints and their filings. They're not
Yep, there you went.
obviously
Your microphone.
Yeah,
looked
you're going roboto.
at it.
You've gone roboto.
Well, yeah, you kind of back. Say something again. Well, in the meantime, welcome News Now California, Poor Dirt Farmer, Fake News,
Can you guys hear
Don
me?
Davo.
Now you can.
That's much better. There we go.
Okay, yeah, I had a bad connection there for a second for some reason. This is the remedy for our violations. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. I do have some paperwork I just received back from the lawyer for the officer or Corporal Levy from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. If you guys remember the case, you can search through my videos. The video's called "Tyrants Found, Rights Violated, Lawsuit Coming."
I was not violated.
And you're gonna see. No, you were not violated. my rights were violated, and you'll see. I had get the motion to dismiss, so we'll go over that tonight too, so you guys can see, just what it is that you're going to be looking at a lot of times when you file these cases. I have yet to see any court paperwork back from these folks where they told
It's going roboto again, man.
They
You have yet to see, and then it cut out after that. You have yet to see paperwork, I think you said?
We're having
Hello.
some technical difficulties tonight. It seems to be.
Okay, I thought that was on my end. Was that on Rogue's end?
No, that's on
Yeah.
right now, I think. But the system itself, like, I can tell from when we normally run to now to not. It's kind of weird tonight. I don't know what it is. It's almost something in the air. It seems like.
Yeah, it's kind of
I
wanky.
literally said out loud before I.
It's kind of wanky.
Wanky.
Yeah, we heard kind of wanky. Are you still there?
Wanky wonky?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
There
now
we
you're here. All right, good. Okay, now continue because now it sounds okay.
Yeah.
I don't hear him at all.
Okay, let's move.
That's because I wasn't talking there for a second. I was reading the comments from OSU Football Chicago. Yeah, he's a real funny guy.
Yeah, that guy's got to go. He never has anything productive to say.
Which you could tell because he's an OSU football fan in Chicago.
Yeah. Or
Information because he
left
thinks
it
it's
at
cool.
Yeah, seriously, people, if you can, provide a valid argument, not just some,
Yeah.
teeny bopper bullshit, some psychotic, deranged shit, we'll entertain it, man. We'll listen to you if you have valid questions, valid gripes. But if you're just gonna try to insult somebody and go the ad hominem route, that's not what we're here for. We're here to educate, not you want that. There are plenty of troll channels who do that. They thrive on the drama, so go there. Hey, Pierre Fluellen, how are you?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's, there's plenty of places out there for him to hang his hat at and talk crap about everybody else but himself.
And they'll love to listen to you. I mean, they really do
So
hang
back
out
into the
and love it.
1983 suit.
Yeah. They want to gripe about George's.
She gripe, or they want to gripe about my internet connection.
Yes.
Amen to that. So let me finish going on there. And when these officers, when they're out there, they're violating our rights or whatever. The reason they do so is because very few people have put claims against them to fight back or to redress the violation of rights. So regardless of what happens to me personally on one of my suits, I feel that I've always won just by the fact that I've simply filed a case against them, which hardly ever happens for something as minute, I guess you could say, as an unlawful detainment or a forced ID. So when I tell these guys, just in Lake County recently, I told them, I said, this is a claim and it's actionable. They hear that all the time. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to get my lawyer, blah, blah, blah. And, it means absolutely nothing to them to hear that. So, a year later, when my guy serves the summons on them, they're all stupefied. They can't believe that somebody's actually filed a claim on them for what they think is, it wasn't a rights violation. Every single one of them, never violated my rights. And so that piques their interest. If this guy can do it, other people can do it. And maybe I need to slow down or at least figure out what I'm doing out here before I lose my job and my pension and everything else, because I keep getting sued every other week by citizens who I, violate. It's a time consuming process. There's a lot of work that goes into the filings and the pleadings and that kind of stuff. And
rebuttals to motions.
They'll definitely keep you on your game. And my whole thing with it is to push it as far as I can go. And one of the reasons being is that it costs them money. Every motion that they answer, every paperwork that they put in, it's costing them money. It's costing the city money. It's costing, the insurance company money. Whoever's paying for it, it's costing them money. Qualified immunity on officers doesn't get decided right off the bat. So there'll be some motions to dismiss, some answers, some amended complaint process. Just the basic starting of a lawsuit against them is going to run them, $2,500 to $5,000 easy. So to me, that is automatically a win in my book. Now it's great if I can win the lawsuit and bring home some, money. Of course, I don't look for money. I don't want to settle for a whole bunch of money. It's not my retirement plan or my lotto. fixation. I don't have a gambling habit, so that doesn't matter. But um, the fact that the lawsuit is filed in and of itself is what makes me the happiest, because for so long these guys have been getting away with this stuff daily, and hardly anybody's ever done anything about it. And now they're starting to see that people are doing something about it. So with that, they have to sit up. They have to pay attention now, because it's not just when they unlawfully arrest somebody now. It's also when they unlawfully detain them, or force them to ID when they're not suspected of a crime. And again, even if we don't win these, it's still costing them money. Okay, it's still a talking to by their superior. Um, if for some amount, or some reason they end up settling or taking it to trial and losing, the city's only going to go for that so many times before they say, the insurance company says to the city, hey, this guy's costing us a lot of money. He either needs to learn his job or he needs to find another job. Um, that's just the way insurance works. Insurance is not going to put up with them constantly putting out money on your behalf because you're an idiot. So I strongly encourage anybody that's in the auditing game to brush up on the lawsuit game and hold them accountable. And again, you don't have to be Johnny Cochran up in there. There's plenty of information online to help you out. The guys at Bolt here are always willing to lend an ear and not provide legal advice, but definitely maybe help steer you in the way of some legal information that could be beneficial to you.
Yeah, we have the cleanup crew in the chat who goes around and reassures them that we will sue. Thanks for that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. We got a lot of great supporters on all of our channels, and it means a lot to us that you guys are back there with us. Some of you guys are helping to file the lawsuits financially. Some of the folks out there in chat land, like Constitutional Corners, offered up help to help type up the suits and help with any motions or pleadings. So yeah, this is definitely an avenue that we want to take in order to see change. And again, it's not going to be just me filing these suits. It's everybody that's listening now. You're in a different part of the country. If people just start popping off with these suits, they're gonna pay attention, and the more the merrier. It's $400 to file it. It's you can do it anywhere from $160 to $200 to serve the summons. So you're talking about $600 to file a suit. So it's a chunk of change, but it's not something that's undoable. And also, if you're indigent, and by that I don't mean homeless, but I mean if all your money goes to your bills and you don't have enough money for that, you can claim indigent status and still file the suit. So you're really not out any money. So yeah, it's definitely something that I would look for to add to my arsenal if I'm out there on the streets auditing. With that in mind, does anybody have any questions about the 1983 suit, or maybe what kind of conditions are needed in order to put one forth? Anything of that nature. We can have you come up on the panel and ask the questions, or you can ask it in the chat.
Those are two good points to cover right there.
What's that?
What constitutes what needs to be on there to put it forward?
Well, to put it forward, you got to have a right that's been violated, and to actually win it, you have to have a right that's been violated, that's well established, and that a reasonable officer would know of. Um, so to just start the suit, you got to have an unlawful detainment. A Fourth Amendment violation is, great to throw on there as well. Um, if an officer is blocking your camera from recording, or is saying that you can't record something, that can be considered prior restraint, um, which I'm hoping I can use here in the St. Pete case. Um, I'll have to review the video footage again, but I'm pretty sure the officer stepped in the way of my camera and blocked me from recording what I was recording. So if there's no questions on the 83 lawsuit, if there's no question on the 83 process or anything, we can go right into the motion to dismiss, and I could start going over that for you. I can't see the chat eyes. Do you see anybody with any questions or comments that need to be addressed? Is that my phone? Yes.
Cameras of Mass Destruction says, where do you file one? It's the 11th Circuit, depending on your federal court of appeals in wherever you are. We have the 11th Circuit.
And I didn't even know it.
Right, but it's not the 11th Circuit that we file it in. That's the appeals. For Florida here, Florida has 3 districts. It's the northern, the central, and southern district of Florida, and each one has a district court. So usually what I tend to do is wherever the incident takes place, I find out the district court for that area, and that's where I'll file the lawsuit. So, for example, the Central District of Florida has, I believe, 5 different courthouses, one in Jacksonville, one in Orlando, one in Tampa, one in Fort Myers, or maybe it's just 4, maybe Gainesville. So what I did was, for the St. Pete lawsuit, it was at the St. Pete airport, I filed in the Tampa division. Now, if you file in the wrong division, sometimes they'll move your case to the closest one, and other times they'll dismiss it. You'll have to refile. But yeah, you always want to do it. I think you always want to do it wherever the incident took place. Then again, that's just my preference. I do believe that you can file it where you live at, unless, again, of course, if it's out of state, that kind of thing. But yeah, a sure bet is to always file it in the area where the offense took place. So with that being the case, I filed my Charlotte County case. I filed it down in the Fort Myers division of the Central Florida District Court. All right. Anything else on the comments there?
Not now, maybe later is here.
Yes, Snap Freeze. This is about filing complaints.
Yes, Snap Phase. This is about not complaints as far as officers, but complaints as far as lawsuits.
Poor Dirt Farmer brought a bunch of the 34 watching now.
Do you see this one, Rogue? Can you see the screen or no?
Violations of civil liberties with malicious intent is where your leverage stands at point of file.
And that was when you were talking about the camera and being in the way of the camera, blocking the camera, that kind of stuff. That's when that comment came over. Right.
No, I agree with him. It takes it takes a little bit in order to break through that qualified immunity, and you'll see as such in the motion to dismiss, which I received yesterday. Um, these guys, they try to backpedal their way out of everything. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the St. Pete airport incident. Is there any way that you can get a
Go,
lock
who'd you
on
news
that
now?
so we can see a
You
couple of
want?
minutes of the airport incident before we go into the motion to
Yep.
dismiss?
Yep. Give me a second. There's two other questions. One is from James Richard. What's the line they cross to become an illegal detainment? And then Dr. Sean Berry had, how much time do we have to file? Those are
And now, maybe later wants to know if he could share this on his stream. Go ahead, man. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's up, Hoosier News Now, buddy? James Richards.
Hey, Doc.
The line that they cross for the illegal detainment is when they detain you without a reasonable suspicion of a crime. Um, that is an illegal detainment. It doesn't have to be for 5 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever. It could be just a minute long detainment, but if they don't have a crime to suspect you of, then that's an unlawful detainment. It's a cessation of your right to freedom of movement. So they have to have that reasonable suspicion that there's been some kind of crime afoot. Now there are investigative stops, but again, that's it shouldn't never occur to or happen to an auditor. I know a lot of times they try to say, well, you fit the description, yada yada yada. That's still not really enough to have you detained, as far as I'm concerned. Now the courts may see it differently, and the courts are as corrupt as the people they have on the streets enforcing the law. But we got to think that somewhere along the line they have to obey the law that they've written, and that's what my whole thing is about. That's what my whole stance is about. I don't have to sit there and yell and curse and do all this other shit to make them respect my rights, because the respecting of my rights is law, and sooner or later you'll get in touch with somebody who understands what the law is in that agency, in that county, in that city, wherever, be it the city attorney or the city manager or someone else. So a lot of times, I've done like 600 videos, and I've got maybe 10 lawsuits. I could have had a lot more lawsuits, but with the time and the money expended towards them, I try to choose carefully, and I try to, the ones that don't have lawsuits or the potential for lawsuits, if there was tyrannical behavior, that's why I started doing my revisits, because not every one of these audits is going to result in a lawsuit, nor should they. Again, that's just way too much time and money. Just like getting arrested, it's way too much time and money to be blowing out there. We're really hampering ourselves by getting arrested, even though there might be a chance for a bigger payoff somewhere down the road. There's also the chance that you go to court and the unlawful arrest that you thought turns out the court sees it as a lawful arrest, and not only do you not have a lawsuit, but now you've got on probation or whatever else the court sentences you to, and $500 fines and all that other stuff. So you always want to walk on the side of caution when you're talking about the law. And you can never be too cautious, because there's just so many laws out there that they could nab you with. And I mean, you could do serious time for something as having, you know, a lobster that's too big or a lobster that's too small.
Or too many
Federal
lobsters.
crime.
And that's in your local court, and that's why I started off with the Federal Court of Appeals, because that's your next step. You got to take it to the state and then to the government.
I'm ready when
Usually,
you are.
in that situation, they're going to back you up.
Right. You have to file with the district court first, which is federal. It's all federal. I don't go state court. You can go state court for your rights violations, but I go federal court. And you start off with the district, and then if they for some reason give you an answer you don't like, a verdict you don't like, then you can appeal it. And for the people that live in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, that appeal would go to the 11th Circuit. And it's the same in all over the country. If you live in this state, and this state, and this state, you would go to the 10th Circuit or the 9th Circuit or whatever have you. But those are for appeals only. And another point I'd like to make while we're on the appeal process is that once that trial is over, you need to have everything that you want on the record to be on the record. Because when the appeals comes, there's no new arguments that you can make. There's no new evidence to be entered. The appeals court is just going to look over what was said and done at the trial level, and you're not going to be able to enter any new evidence. So whatever you want to get on the record, make sure you get it on the record in the trial, in the court case, in the complaint that you originally file. Because after that, it's a no-go. So, and for Dr. Sean Berry's question, I want to say that it's 4 years to file a 1983 suit. Again, don't quote me on that. Go ahead and look it up for yourselves, guys. But I do think that it's 4 years. In contrast, the St. Petersburg airport incident that I filed on is over 16 months old. So I'm running about 14 to 16 months behind my audits and my lawsuits. And, they just keep piling up. So a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money. And, just trying to do the best that I can to ensure that, not only do my audits go well, but also the repercussions and the consequences for the ones that don't go well are, properly, I guess you could say, distributed or taken care of.
Yeah, you can see in the captain's videos when he says, "Oh, okay, that's fine." He's like putting their name down on the list. I'll see you in a year and a half. I'm an STD man.
Right. You guys will forget all about this incident until some guy comes knocking at your door, and then you'll remember all of a sudden, oh, yeah, that's that.
You're cutting out again, Captain. And Hoosier News Now says 2 years over there.
He's filing 2 years here for Hoosier News Now. Yeah, definitely check with your local district courts. There's the federal rules of procedure, but also each district has their own local rules. So you'll want to definitely check with those. Snap pays for an average lawsuit. Again, just to start it, you're looking at $600. Now that could jump pretty high if you go to mediation and that sort of thing. You and the other party have to split the mediator. That could run you $1,500 to $2,500. So it can get expensive later on. So you got to be ready to meet those challenges. Or again, if accountability is your thing and you're not after the money, I mean, you could take the case right up to mediation and then just have it dismissed, voluntary dismissal. Meanwhile, you have spent $600 and the state's spent, 10 to 15 grand. And that's a win in my book. Of course, again, it's always nice to get the money back, but, or, even to make some money on it. But, again, it's, for me, it's accountability. It's not about money. I lived just fine, 44 years before I even picked up a camera and got on YouTube. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be fine after I put my camera down. So it's not about
Same
trying
here.
to earn a living. What's that, right?
I said same here. We are doing this, at great cost, not monetary, but good names smeared by people who hate freedom. And you go online and look up our names, but dig deep and see what we've done. And what we haven't done. What we haven't done is, anything wrong. You look at the stuff that happens on everybody's channel every day, and that's what we're at great risk, like our founding fathers, fighting against at great cost.
That's right. And it's not, like you said, it's not just, money cost, it's cost of time. When I file a lawsuit in Fort Myers, I actually got to drive my ass down to Fort Myers whenever we have a conference, whenever there's a pre-trial, whenever, the trial comes. That's like a 2.5 hour drive for me, and again, that's just some one lawsuit. Now, again, I'm hoping to file a suit up there
Antichrist.
in Lake County, Indiana, which I'm okay with, because when it does have time to come up and go up there, I'm just going to be hanging out with friends and family, because I grew up in that area. So that doesn't really, much bother me as far as that goes. We got that video ready yet, Eyes?
Yes, we do.
All right. Skip ahead to right about there. Yeah.
Hello. I'm just curious.
This is St. Pete Airport.
Just because I feel like it. Just because you feel like it? Are you catching a flight out of here? I don't answer questions. Thank you, though. Hey, Ron.
There goes the 360.
Didn't tell me it was flying out today.
Hi,
Hello.
can I help you?
Nope. Didn't ask for any help.
Okay. Any reason why we're taping today?
Because I feel like it.
Because you feel like it. Okay. Then
Operations.
if you, well,
I got TSA policy right off their website in my pocket if you guys need a refresher.
okay. I don't need a refresher, but I can ask you to leave.
I also have Colby versus State.
Okay, that's nice. You can still leave.
This cop is so angry.
Now, right now, you can't see it because it's not the 360, but the corporal there.
But I don't answer questions.
Pause it right there for a minute, Eyes. The corporal right there. If you go back a little bit, when he first came over and he started asking me a question, the other Deputy White, asked him if he should go to operations. And the corporal kind of like shrugged his shoulders, and he started asking me some more questions. Then, as time goes on, the other officer, Deputy White, tells the corporal there, he goes, should we go to operations and have him trespass? And he was like, yeah. And you'll hear me say that you can't trespass somebody from a public building without a crime. But you'll see in the motion to dismiss that the lawyer for the corporal says that at no time did the corporal trespass me from the airport. And on the face of it, because the lawyer has only seen this video right here, he hasn't seen my 360 version. Which on the 360 version, you see Deputy White, which he's off screen now. He's right up at the front of the hallway there, and you could see the airport operations guy, Steven Santamaria, who's the second defendant on the lawsuit. You see him and Deputy White talk for a second, and then Deputy White comes over, and Steven Santamaria, the airport operations guy, comes over, and he says, "I'm being trespassed." Go ahead and play it, Eyes, and let's see if we can catch.
We just have operation trespassing from the property.
See right there.
Can't trespass somebody from public property if there's no law being broken. I suggest you read State versus Colby.
Yes, you can, sir.
The public
I'm
has
not reading anything. Yes, you can.
Okay, you don't have to read
You
anything.
will be trespassed and forced to leave.
Name and badge number, please.
I don't have to answer that either.
Are you a public servant?
Yeah, he does.
I don't have to answer that either.
Are you a police officer?
Does it look like it?
I don't know. Police officers are required to give their name and badge number when asked by the public. It's part of their policy. County Sheriff's policy. So you don't have to identify yourself when you come in contact with the person of the public. How'd they know you're a police officer? How'd they know you didn't just rent that at a costume shop? Nobody knows, huh?
How do I know you're not a terrorist and trying to blow up our airport?
Because terrorists don't come in the middle of the day with cameras so you can easily spot them.
Actually, they do.
Yeah, it's called surveillance, and you would never see them.
Oh, we did see them.
Sure you
And
did.
That's why we're asking you.
Sure you
why
did.
you're doing this.
TSA has got a long list of catching 0 terrorists.
Go to the right.
Of course, if you could point to some documented verification.
Steve or Kim.
So why would I be trespassed just because I'm recording?
Because you refuse to answer any questions.
Is that against the law?
It is when we're asking you for a question.
It is.
It comes to security.
What statute is that?
This is security operations.
What statute
Can I
is
have your
that?
ID, sir?
Have I committed a crime?
Can I have your ID?
And when a police officer
This is
951.051?
What state law says when a police officer asks you for ID, you will provide it.
What statute is that? Is that the stop and frisk law, 951.051?
Okay, this gentleman here has something to tell you.
You are unable to videotape TSA and their procedures.
Am I? Can I reach?
Ooh, that's the magic
Not being
word.
shot? Would you like to read TSA procedures?
You cannot video that. I am trespassing you from the airport immediately
Trespass for what reason?
for filming.
For filming, a First Amendment protected
Okay, let
activity.
me ask you this. Are you going to leave like he just asked you to?
Under threat of violence, I will leave. I just want to be clear here that you're asking me to leave a...
Okay, Eyes, you can pause it. All right, so we can see there that, Steven Santamaria, the airport operations guy, just walks over and, says I'm trespassed. And again, once I get my answer to the motion to dismiss, you'll see how I lay that all out for them. But, Eyes, can you bring up the motion to dismiss paperwork there? All right, great.
You're still muted, Eyes.
I know. I just
Okay.
unmuted it. I didn't know I needed it at that point. You can see this and everything okay, right?
Yes, I can. It's a little small on my phone. Hold on, I got to switch it around. Let me see.
Let me see if I can get it. That's probably about as big as I can get it without it.
No, that's fine. That
Okay.
looks good. Okay, scroll up a little bit. Okay, so this is the first part. Obviously, it's a motion to dismiss. He says because amendment is futile, dismissal is prejudice warranted. I don't think the court will see it that way. It is again a pro se complaint, so they're gonna give it more leeway than they would if a lawyer had filed it. I'm still working on my complaints and all my paperwork and stuff. Again, I'm new at this, just like everybody else. I'm definitely not an expert, so part of the reason why I do this myself instead of having a lawyer handle it is the obvious case that there's not a lot of money in it for a lawyer. So I would be just going into debt, having lawyers do these for me.
What does that mean?
No,
it was me.
But also because I need the experience myself. So, I feel the best.
You're cutting in and out bad again. We just lost you completely.
I thought that was me. I'm
no.
Scrambling.
Nope. We lost you completely.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Yeah.
now we can.
Okay. All right. Scroll up a little bit on the relevant background. Just goes through. All right. Stop right there. Let's check it out. Okay. Go on up some more. This is just basic stuff we can see right there. Let's stop. Let's see where we get to this first problem that we have with this. All right, he says right there at number 5, Deputy White asked Corporal Levy if they should get airport operations to trespass him. And it says, Stephen Santa Maria then arrived, and according to Metz, the deputies conspired to have Metz trespass. Now, again, he hasn't been able to see the 360 camera, or I guess he just didn't look for it. He thought I only had the one video of the incident up, and he has not seen where Deputy White went over and talked to Stephen Santa Maria, because, common sense dictates that if, Stephen Santa Maria was in his office or doing whatever airport operations manager guy does, he wouldn't have known about me. No one had called and complained about me. The only people that wanted me investigated or wanted me kicked out was the officers that were standing there because I wouldn't cooperate with them and stop filming or tell them why I was filming or any of that such nonsense. So the whole reason that Stephen Santa Maria is even in the picture is because they realized that they themselves could not trespass me because they're not the authorized agent. It's the airport operations guys. So that's why they kept saying, you want me to get operations? You want me to get operations? Because they themselves could not trespass me. They wanted to trespass me, but they couldn't. They're not the owner or the authorized agent of the airport. So they had to get the operations guy. So when Stephen came down and Deputy White went to meet him, I mean, again, he hasn't seen the video, so maybe he doesn't know that this took place. But I'm wondering what he's thinking Stephen's going to say when he gets on the stand. Is Stephen going to be like, oh, yeah, no, the cops didn't, say anything to me. I just came out of nowhere and thought this guy, wasn't allowed to film, so I and we know that's not true. He was met over there by Deputy White. Deputy White explained to him that I was supposedly not able to videotape TSA, and they wanted me to leave, and that's why they called Stephen down. And that's why when Stephen walked over, he said, you're not allowed to be filming TSA. And I'm like, really? I have their policy right here in my pocket. And then he says, I'm going to trespass you. And then I ask him what for. He says for filming. Steven's done. His case, I mean, they might file a motion to dismiss because that's their playbook. But I mean, right there on video, he says he's trespassing me for filming. I tell him it's a First Amendment protected activity. They still trust me.
And the cops heard that. They were well within earshot.
We'll go ahead and go up a little bit. You get 7. Go up a little bit so everybody can read number 7. That's really neat.
Where's 7?
You passed it a little bit.
Right there. No, it's right there. Frequent litigant. Like I'm not supposed to be a litigant when my rights are violated, Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. They're frequent offenders.
Right, exactly. I just thought that was kind of funny how he put in there I was a frequent litigant. He's got links to some of my cases. One of the cases was the one my lawyer filed, the Metz versus Mina, right there. All right, keep on going. Keep on scrolling up. Let's go ahead and work through this. It's like a 12-page
motion to dismiss. The excuses of why they shouldn't be sued.
Okay, right here, 8. Metz's video shows that Corporal Levy did not trespass him. The video is just over 6 minutes long. The trespass occurs at 5:21. It was not issued by Corporal Levy or by any other deputy sheriff. Of course it wasn't, because they're not the owner. They're not the authorized agent.
Right. They just enforced it, though.
Right. Well, they called the authorized agent down to have me trespass. I mean, think about it this way. Let's say you're working at a McDonald's, and let's say you work the drive-through window, or, let's say you work the counter, and a person's on the other side of the counter and you don't like him, and, he's being disrespectful and calling you all kinds of names, and you want him trespassed. But you're just a freaking cashier. You don't have that power. So you have to call the manager over, and then the manager will trespass that person off the property. Now, even though it was the manager that did it, it was that cashier that had initially started the trespass process. Because without that cashier complaining, that manager probably would have never went up to that counter.
You could totally see it in Deputy White's face. Right when he turned around, he was like, "Oh, I know what I'm going to do." He had that face.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, he had the crap look on his face. It says I was not detained, arrested, touched, required to identify myself. Absolutely not. None of those things happened, and yet I still filed the case, and they're still having to defend against it. Okay? Because, again, my rights were violated by being removed from a place where I knew I was allowed to be. I mean, the airport policy itself says that I'm allowed to record there. The TSA policy itself says I'm allowed to record their checkpoints. Okay? 100% within my legal right to be there with a camera. And I'm sure a lot of people have been to the airport. They know people are in the airports with cameras, video cameras, all the time. So I was totally within my right to be there. And them removing me from a public area under threat of arrest for trespassing is definitely a violation of my right, which is why we filed the suit. All right, let's go on. Okay, there's my point. The complaint does not contain any state law claims. I was going to put in Article 1, Section 2, Florida Constitution, the Equal Protection Clause. but I left that out. Again, just a mistake by me. I might be able to put that in the amended complaint, but again, I probably won't have to. All right, standards of review. Now, again, this is the stuff that's going to be standard on the motions to dismiss. You're going to hear shotgun pleadings. You're going to hear this first, the Twombly case. They actually quote Twombly a couple of times throughout this. And that basically is saying you got to meet a certain level in order for the court to hear your case. Now, again, you can amend the complaint. If you put in a complaint not right, or you realize that you need to beef up the facts, you know, you left some facts out, you need to put them in there to show the deprivation of the violation, then go ahead and amend it and send it on in, and also send your answer in to the motion to dismiss. All right, go on up. All right, again, this is more the same stuff. It's not enough for a complaint to contain mere labels and conclusions. And on the bottom paragraph, in evaluating the sufficiency of a complaint on a motion to dismiss, the well-pleaded facts must be accepted as true and construed in the light most favorable to the plaintiff. Okay? So that means whatever facts that you put in on that complaint, it has to be evaluated in your favor, more so than if you actually hired a lawyer. So that's something that actually goes good in our favor there. Okay, down at the bottom, factual allegations must be enough to raise a right to relief above the speculative level. And what they're saying there is that the allegations that I put forth in my complaint must be of such that a right to relief, meaning a verdict in my favor, has to be more than speculative. Like, yeah, maybe I'll win, maybe I won't. So you definitely want to get all the facts of the case in there. You want to put in there where the violations took place, a good complaint to look over, Turner v. Driver. I know a lot of people know the case. Go ahead and read the complaint that he
shout out
that
to
he
the
turned
Batusi.
in. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, how he lays it out line by line, fact by fact, on the whole instance. Okay, here it talks about qualified immunity and what's needed. Violates clearly established federal, statutory, or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. Qualified immunity is conferred unless a plaintiff demonstrates that
You're cutting out, Cap.
constitutional right, and that the right was.
You're cutting out again, Cap.
Again, that's what I'm saying about qualified immunity. It's got to be a right that's not something that just, you know, you heard about or you read the case law about, and it's out of, you know, Alaska and you're in Florida. That's not a well-established a right, but something like the First Amendment, right to free press, that is definitely a well-established right that most people
Fix your mic,
agree
Cap.
or not. I mean, you'd have to be, you know, pretty far off the rocker not to realize the right to free press has been around since day one.
Hey, man, we cannot hear you.
Oh, he said, take my head out of the fishbowl. Can you guys hear me?
Not really. It sounds like your head's in a fishbowl, just like it said.
There is a GoFundMe already started for your mic. I think Poor Dirt Farmer started a GoFundMe for your mic.
Can you hear me any better now?
A little bit, yes.
Much.
Can you hear me better now?
No.
No, that's way worse.
It's way worse.
Oh, that's getting better.
Oh, that's actually my little girl going to sleep. Hoosiers now.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better now.
Okay, for some reason you guys are coming in low.
Oh, marijuana. Can you hear me? Marijuana.
Yeah, I can hear you, but barely. I don't know. I'm getting some technical difficulties on my end here. I'm not sure what it is. I know YouTube was messing up earlier, but I don't know what's wrong right now with my stuff. All right, let's go down to the, let's get through the qualified immunity real quick. Keep going. Okay. At the outset, it is fatal to Metz's First Amendment claim that Corporal Levy did not prohibit Metz from recording, did not tell Metz to stop recording, did not detain or arrest, and did not trespass Metz from the airport. When actually he did trespass me, he just trespassed me through an agent, Stephen Santa Maria. And it says there, Metz's claim that Levy solicited his trespass is frivolous. There is no such thing as soliciting trespass. We all know that's not true. There's not a law per se against soliciting a trespass, but you can definitely solicit a trespass. And you can do that by asking the owner or the representative of the owner if they want this person removed from their property. See, because if I want a person removed from my property, no one has to come and ask me if I want somebody removed from my property. You know I want somebody removed from my property. I've already told them. I've told you. You know what I mean? Like it's not a guessing game if an owner or registered agent of the owner wants somebody removed from the property. The cop
Yeah, the
should never
sheriff's
have to
deputies
ask somebody,
shouldn't be
do
the
you want
complainants.
somebody removed from the property? Okay? That again, that's soliciting the trespass. If the agent wanted me removed from the property, he would have told me himself. He didn't need somebody to come over and hold his hand and talk to him sweetly in his ear for 2 minutes before he comes over and tells me that I'm being trespassed.
Yeah, good point, Mr. SRS. None of this is legal advice. Please consult an attorney, hopefully at megajustice.com. That sounded very shilly.
What Mr. Raz was saying is that soliciting a trespass is giving
right.
legal advice. He's absolutely right, because
and they can't be the
even
complainant.
though I wasn't privy to the conversation that Deputy White had with Stephen Santa Maria, I'm guaranteeing you that it went something along the lines of, hey, this guy's not allowed to record the TSA checkpoint. You know what I mean? That's pretty much giving legal advice.
Yeah.
Again, that's
he did
something that's frowned upon. But it would be hard to prosecute something like that. And even then, it would be up to the Florida bar to prosecute and not us if someone is giving legal advice.
But look at what's happening to Stephen because of that deputy. So, of course, it's
right. He was given false information, and he used that false information to violate my rights, and now he's looking at a lawsuit for it. So, it was definitely detrimental to Stephen Santa Maria to listen to the deputy that day instead of just coming over and talking to me. You saw me hand him the paper with the TSA procedures on it. He even looked at it for a second. I don't know if he actually read it, but he did look at it for a second before he handed it back to me. So, yeah, I mean, even if you don't like what we're doing, as First Amendment auditors, everybody should question when somebody tells you, hey, this guy's doing something that's unlawful or illegal or what. Again, it's that where is the statute? You know what I mean? A lot of people will tell us a lot of things are the law. A lot of people will tell us there's a lot of things that we shouldn't do, or we're not allowed to do, or we can't do. But when it comes down to brass tacks, and you say, well, where is that law? And they provide that law, if there is a law to you. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see that that law has nothing to do with what you're doing, has no anything to do with much of anything. 9 times out of 10, people just shoot shit out their ass all the time. A perfect example of this is I got my daughter's vaccination refusal forms, and when I went into the health department, and this is before I started auditing, but I went into the health department, and the lady tells me, she says, well, your daughter has to come in and she has to talk with the doctor or the nurse or something before, we'll sign off on this form. And I said, well, what kind of law is that? I said, because my daughter's 8 years old and, she ain't doing much talking to anybody without me around, first of all. And I said, what law makes it so that my daughter has to talk to you? Well, she said, well, it's on the back of the paper here. I'll give it to you, And sure enough, I take it and bring it home, and it absolutely does not apply to me or my daughter or anything we're doing. You know what I mean? So it's just like the rights. Remember when we were at Newport Richie and those guys, they hustled us out of the DMV and they said there's a sign there and there was a statute attached to it. And I told
that's the Privacy Act. The
totally
Privacy Act that applies to them,
didn't apply
not
to
us
us at all. But because they
Same
see
in
that
Miami
statute on there, they think, oh well, it's the law, and now we've got a way to do this and do that. And
in the federal building
again,
and in the detention center in Miami, they added on their rule right underneath that to make it look like it's part of the law too, which it's not. It was just a little addition that they put on there because of their feelings,
right,
or because they're hiding something.
I noticed the same thing. I want to say it was in St. Lucie County at the jail. They've actually have a statute printed above their door, their entry door to their lobby, and it says no recording devices or something of that nature. And I called them on it. I looked the statute up on my phone while I was there, while I was doing the audit. I had a lady come out like 2 or 3 times and tell me I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, and I had the top guy there come out and talk to him. And sure enough, within like 5 minutes, I was inside the jail recording. And I told him, I said, listen, that statue you got up there, it doesn't say anything about, recording devices, press, me, that kind of stuff. So,
yep.
These guys will.
When you amend that, are you going to put in 760.51? That is the Florida state statute that whenever any person, whether or not acting under the color of law, interferes by threats, intimidation, or coercion in attempts to interfere by threats, intimidation, or coercion with the exercise or enjoyment by any other person of rights secured by the state constitution or laws of the state. That's definitely one to put in there. And as far as his claim that he wasn't supposed to give you his ID, in the Pinellas County Sheriff General Order number 03013.39, conduct toward the public. Members shall be courteous and orderly in their dealings with the public. Members shall avoid using profane or insulting language towards the public. Upon request, members shall supply their name to the public and shall attend to requests from the public quickly and accurately, avoiding unnecessary referral to other components of the agency, like getting, Stephen or their supervisor. And they should have just left you alone and given you their name.
Right. All right, so where we are now.
We moved down just a little bit from where we were.
It talks a little bit about, the First Amendment and our rights to gather information and such like that. He goes into a subject to a reasonable time, manner, and place restrictions. But again, they never go into what those restrictions actually are, except that they got to be narrowly tailored to support a government interest that is supposedly, weightier than our right. Okay, so it's pretty difficult for them to say that I violated any of the time, place, and manner restrictions in the airport there. As you can see, I was standing off to the side. I was out of the flow of normal business. As a matter of fact, there was a gate in front of me. No one was even allowed to go through that gate. But where I was standing, totally public. There was actually chairs behind me where people waiting to take off or to go through security or whatever could sit. I mean, I was right there, right by the chairs. And obviously, the airport was open. It was a time when the general public was allowed to be there. So they're going to have a hard time on that one. I'm going to try to get out this answer to this motion here within the next week or two. It's got to be done, I think, within 2 to 3 weeks after they file this. It has to be answered. So I'll be putting that up on the American Freedom channel when I get that typed up and ready to go. All right, keep going. All right, stop there. Let's see. Okay, that last sentence, it is now clear that the First Amendment does not guarantee access to property just because it is owned by the government. I think everybody can agree with that. I don't think any of us are going to try to get into Fort Knox because it's owned by the government. I don't think any of us are going to try to scale the fence at the White House because it's owned by the government. We're not going to parachute into the Pentagon because it's owned by the government, okay? This is just stupidity at a different level. Keep going up. Eyes, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. It takes me a second to get to that little itty bitty button down there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if you could hear me, and I'm having a hard time hearing you guys.
I got you.
Okay, here it says, instead, courts use form analysis to evaluate government restrictions on purely private speech that occurs on government property. Again, they conflate the speech right or the right of expression, which is tied into the right of free press, but is separate. So, what they're saying there is that they can restrict speech on the property, and they absolutely can. You can't hold a sermon in the post office. You can't demonstrate in City Hall. That's obvious. That's always been obvious.
Time, place, and manner are the restrictions.
Right, time, place, or manner. I've yet to see a case by supporter or troll that ties the right to free press into the forum analysis. I've never seen a case that said, well, he had the right to free press, but it's a non-public forum, so he doesn't have a right to free press in that. I've never seen that case. I've seen, cases like Adderley where they were demonstrating outside of the jail and blocking the driveway so, the deputies couldn't come in or come out or whatever. I know a lot of trolls try to use Adderley to say that people can be trespassed from public property. And again, that's that time, place, manner restriction. I believe it was at night. The jail wasn't open per se to the general public. Again, they were blocking the driveway. So there's when it comes to lawsuits and to facts of a case, they gotta kind of be interchangeable. I mean, you can use some of the information from Adderley, but the cases are so dissimilar that naturally it's not going to be a good fit because one, I'm not protesting, two, I'm not impeding traffic or impeding business, so that there's a lot of difference in between that and Adderley. Okay, and it does say here that although in the 11th Circuit, the First Amendment right to record police activity in public is probably clearly established. It is probably clearly established. It's been established for quite a few years. Again, this is a right that I don't think anybody is not going to be able to say that they weren't reasonably aware of, including the police. I mean, if you're a police officer in this day and age, like I threw that in there, if you're a police officer in this day and age in the 11th Circuit, then
In the
you
current
definitely
climate,
should know about the right to record police. You should know about Smith becoming. You should have had, talks with it to the people. Your supervisors, they should be giving you talk outs and stuff like that. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, and then he goes on to say the right to record within a government building or non-police public employees working inside a government building is another matter.
only when appropriate.
Okay, then we
Fine.
go down. As Judge Chappelle noted, in a recent similar case, neither the parties nor the court could find any controlling law on that point. And that's from the Andy Sheets case against Punta Gorda. Um, and there is no controlling case law on that. Um, but again, I posted it on the B.A.N.G Facebook page. It's a book called General Principles of Constitutional Law that goes into the First Amendment. And what the consensus is that and I got some more links I'll be throwing up too, pretty soon as I'm doing my research for the answer. But the First Amendment, the chief importance is to bring the public officials to the bar of public viewership so that we may judge their actions, whether they're honorable or dishonorable. And I have and I'll have to get the link out there, but I have one where it says that these people need to be shamed. They need to be shamed into doing the honorable and noble thing. And that's what the First Amendment's there for. It's there for us to have discussion about what government is doing. And the only way we can have discussion on what the government is doing is if we are taking notice of what the government is doing. Discussions that no one is keeping an eye on.
Your mic again, Captain.
CNN. Um, so it's important. These are important First Amendment issues and topics there that need to be looked at. All right, let's see where we are now. It says, indeed, TSA airport security screeners are not law enforcement officers and they do not perform police functions. That is correct. They are not law enforcement officers, but they are public employees. And again, the single most important constitutional viewpoint on the freedom of the press is to report on what public officials are doing. Okay, that was the whole goal of the First Amendment. To official for doing the
Microphone,
public's
Gunny.
name. What's that?
Not Gunny, but Captain.
Was I fading out again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Gunny had
All right, am I
microphones
back
up.
now?
That's why I said Gunny.
I saw how that went together like that.
Am I back now?
Yes, you're back now.
Getting through?
Yes, you're okay.
Yep.
All right.
Lima Charlie.
All right, let's go on up then.
Ooh.
Okay, here we go. This is interesting. It says, even fully accepting as true the essence of my claims, in difference to what my video shows, which again, as I pointed out, and which I'll point out in court, Corporal Levy was the point man on that trespass. Okay, we heard Deputy White asking Corporal Levy if he should get Stephen or somebody from airport operations to come trespass me. When I told him that you can't trespass somebody from public property, you heard Deputy White say, "Oh, you absolutely can. I'm not reading nothing. You are going to be trespassed and forced out," is exactly what he said. Then sure enough, Stephen Santa Maria comes over after talking to Deputy White, and guess what? I get trespassed. Coincidence? I don't think so.
But not just trespass for filming.
For filming, right. And like you said, and forced out. Now, there's definitely an intimidation factor there. When you have two or more armed officers there,
Yeah.
you can claim intimidation.
And not just
Aggravated,
armed
because
people,
they're
they are
armed.
under the color of
Okay.
law.
There's another video that I wanted to bring in tonight that I forgot to post to eyes. Maybe we'll get to it at another time, but it's a citizen. I don't know how many people have seen it. I know it's been on the internet for quite a few years, but there's a citizen, and he's at his house in his front yard, and there's like 5 or 6 officers that walk up on him, saying that there's a disturbance, whatever. And the gentleman's like, "Yo, this is my property. This is my dwelling. This is where I live." And he starts getting all their names and badge numbers, and he asks them, he says, "You guys want a contract with me?" He goes, "I have a contract with your sheriff, and you guys work for the sheriff." He goes, "You're all under color of law." And he goes, "Right now, there's 4 or 5 of you around here, and you're all armed." He goes, "I'm feeling intimidated. I'm feeling threatened." He goes, "So now I'm going to go down, and I'm going to file complaints on all of you guys. And and he goes, and your bonds are going to be up for grab because you're over here intimidating me, and I feel threatened." So anytime there's 2 or more officers there, you can consider it what's called a non-custodial interview if you're not arrested. And that's also a no-no. It's not against the law. It's just frowned upon very heavily. And also you can claim intimidation and do so because you don't know what's going to happen when there's 3, 4, 5 armed guys around you. I mean, anything could set somebody off. You could reach back to, scratch your ass, innocently. And, one guy thinks, because he doesn't got a clear view of you because there's 3 other guys standing around you, maybe he thinks you're going for a weapon and he pulls out a gun and shoots you. So, I mean, this can be serious business. Thankfully, a lot of times it hasn't been that way yet for any of us, except for Furry, got shot out there by the security guard. But there was a story about a photographer, not even a First Amendment auditor, but just a photographer. He was out at night one time, and he was getting his equipment out of his van or whatever. He had the telephoto lens and everything, and cop saw him, thought it was a gun or a rifle, and ended up shooting the guy. Well, come to find out, the cop actually knew the guy and knew he was a photographer. But I mean, anything can happen in these situations. So 2 or more guys roll up on you, I would immediately start saying, "Hey, I'm feeling intimidated. I'm feeling threatened." And that's something that I'm going to be incorporating now into my audits, as well as the non-custodial interview. You want to get all these things on tape. You want to get them all recorded, because as you can see, they'll go through and they'll nitpick every little thing you say and every little thing that happened to try to twist out of responsibility. Oh, Corporal Levy didn't trespass and Stephen did. Steven wouldn't even known I was there if Corporal Levy hadn't opened his mouth. You know what I mean? I would have been in there and out of there. I would have never even saw Steven. You
Right.
know? So, all right, let's keep going on here.
Hey, we had a question from not a troll, not Fawn Leibowitz is not a troll just because you disagree with us. Did you see the Ninth Circuit decision regarding YouTubers not being bound by the First Amendment? YouTubers not being bound by the First Amendment? If that's a question, yeah, I don't understand that, but I think I know what you're trying to misconstrue and trying to twist. That's why I said it's apples to oranges when you're talking about PragerU versus Google. PragerU, just like we, don't have freedom of speech on YouTube. We have their guidelines to which we have to abide. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the freedom of the press on the platform of YouTube. Don't conflate the two issues. That's apples and oranges.
Right.
Just to
No,
clear
you're
that up.
absolutely right. There is no, on YouTube, there is no First Amendment right. Rogue Nation does not have a First Amendment right on YouTube, no matter if the material and content I publish is First Amendment protected. Okay, because I could take that content and I could go to many other places than YouTube. Okay,
personal websites, anything, anywhere else.
And their lawsuit against somebody about that is not our concern. That's apples and oranges.
Yeah, there's no First Amendment protection on YouTube.
No.
Just like if there's a troll in my
Ask guys
on my page, I can kick them off. Just like on your personal Facebook page, there's no First Amendment protection for anybody on your Facebook page. If somebody comes on your Facebook page talking shit and you don't like it, you remove the comment, you boot the guy.
On Facebook, period, there's no First Amendment protected speech on there at all.
Yes, there is. On public
pages, yes.
On public pages, correct.
Right, yeah. Not ours.
Not ours.
Right.
Yeah.
But not on private pages, but on public pages like the local sheriff. So that that's the difference with that there. And again, YouTube is a private company. It makes its own rules and regulations, and
just like Twitter,
have to abide by them. Right. I mean, you might have a First Amendment right to chew gum, but Walmart says if you're chewing gum, you can't come into this establishment. Guess what? Your ass is chewing gum in the parking lot, or you're spitting the shit out and going in. It's one or the other. We still there?
I'm just getting another beer.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Okay, so here it talks about a case where the gentleman was detained, produced ID, arrested, yada, yada, yada. Said that they dismissed this First Amendment suit, and the 10th Circuit affirmed, holding that because the law was not clearly established, officers reasonably believed they had probable cause for his arrest and were entitled to qualified immunity on the First Amendment claim. Notably, the 10th Circuit did not reach the issue of the existence of a First Amendment right to record in an airport or at a security checkpoint. So the 10th Circuit, which is different than the 11th Circuit, and I haven't looked into the 10th Circuit, there's a couple of circuits out there that say that we don't have a right to record police activities. But here in the 11th Circuit, we absolutely do. And more so than recording police activities, Smith v. Cummings said that we have the right to record public officials in the course of their public duties, especially on matters of public interest, okay? Right before I'd gone to this airport and did the TSA checkpoint, there was a story about TSA agents involved shipping drugs. It was a big case of like $50 million worth of drugs or something. They shipped over so many years, this or that. So my case and that case is going to be notably different in that aspect. as well as the aspect that here in the 11th Circuit, it is definitely a recognizable right that we have. Keep on going down.
And to elaborate more on Fawn's rebuttal about reading the second paragraph on the decision, where YouTube might have been violating the Lanham Act by, uh, deciding what kind of ads to run on the stuff. Again, that's YouTube, not us. YouTube is still the platform, but we are protected by the Constitution to do this, regardless
Right,
of whether we do it
absolutely.
on YouTube or not. You can't
Right,
use that we used it on YouTube and that's illegal because YouTube is doing illegal stuff. You can't put us on that. So try again.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Rights. What YouTube does with its ads on its videos, on its rules and regulations, that's up between them and the government. That's something that they got to work out. My
I pay
First Amendment
$9.99
right.
a month for
$9.90.
YouTube Premium, and it's great. I don't have ads, and I get to listen to music even if I shut down my app and put it in my pocket.
Yep, agreed.
There's an ad.
Yeah, there's an app for that. So yeah, that's totally irrelevant to what I'm doing. Again, I could capture this content and I could distribute it a million different ways. I could go through Twitter, I could do it through Reddit, I could do it through Facebook, I could do it through our website. I mean, there's a million different avenues that this information could be disseminated to the public in. It just so happens that we're on YouTube, but that doesn't take away our First Amendment right to record matters of public interest. And a lot of people, and I'm not saying this young man who's you've been telling me questions from, but there's some trolls out there that always say, "Well, who are you to
I don't
decide
know if
what's in the
it's
public interest?"
I don't know
And
if
I
it's
and
a
I
young man or a young lady. It's Fawn, which is an
Fawn.
androgynous name. I don't know.
Fawn. Yeah, I think it might be a young lady, but either way, heck, now I forgot where I was at.
Sorry about that.
That's fine, right? What were we talking about? What did she say? He say? Oh, okay. Now I remember. The trolls talking about what public interest is, and the simple reply to that is the members of the public decide what's in their own interest. So, for example, if I put up two videos on two different channels, which I normally do. Okay, I got my audit passes on American Freedom, and then I have my audit fails on Rogue Nation. Now, I could even post two videos at the same time on the same day. One video might get 200 views. The other one might get 100,000 views. The public itself decides what they're interested in. I can't decide what the public interest is. Neither can a troll. Okay, and it doesn't matter the percentage of people or of the public that finds an interest in it. It could be 10 people that find an interest in it, and it's still got that First Amendment protection. Okay, so any of the trolls out there listening, you can go ahead and wipe that off your chalkboard there as something that's sly and clever, and
Put that in your pipe and
get back
smoke
to
it. Really
reality on that.
relax.
Yeah. All right, going on. Even if this court were to make new law and find a First Amendment right to video record in an airport or at a TSA security checkpoint, when Met's recorded at the St. Pete Clearwater Airport, there was no clearly established law anywhere that would have put Corporal Levy on notice that this was protected First Amendment activity. Okay, So to address this, there is no court that has made a law that said it's a First Amendment activity to record at an airport or a TSA checkpoint. And the reason that is because it's pretty common sense, one would imagine. If you're recording something, if you're taking pictures of something, if you're in an obvious gathering information type of setting, then one could assume reasonably that you're some kind of journalist, some kind of reporter, or something of that nature, maybe a private eye, even, or what have you not. Um, but if I have a First Amendment right to record in public matters of public interest, would that not be, I don't know, asinine, I guess, to then go and say I have a First Amendment right to record matters of public interest in a public airport? I mean, it's the same exact thing. The rights clearly established that we can record matters of public interest in areas open to the public. I mean, I don't know what more needs to be said there, that another court would have to say in order to make it, rock solid, that that's all right. You know what I mean? That's like saying, well, there's been no First Amendment right granted in saying Hail Mary, or some other religious phrase, you know. And of course, there doesn't need to be one court case specifically set out saying that that specific phrase is a First Amendment, freedom of religion protected activity, because they ran the gamut with freedom of religion, right? So anything doing to religion is going to fall under that freedom of religion right. The same thing with the right to free press and the right to, to gather information on public interest matters in the public areas. You don't need to say, well, videotaping a trash can is a First Amendment protected activity. Videotaping a car going down the street's a First Amendment protected activity. Videotaping birds flying in the skies, you know what I mean? You don't need individual court cases specifically laying out every right that falls under that right of free press. Um, it's just ridiculous to even assume that you would need that.
It's kind of like today with like the ridiculous things that like states are putting out on what you are allowed to do. It's just funny things. You're allowed to go out and meditate on the beach, but other things you're not. And what you were saying before about the case laws that they were bringing up against you in this motion to dismiss, one of them was something that, of course, they can come up with bullshit ordinances and stuff, but we will always have the right to challenge that and defeat it.
Absolutely. And I mean, if one fails, there's, should be more there to take the place. If if one auditor goes down, or if one auditor has, problems, there should be more of us there to help pick that up, and to help, right what's been wrong there. And the same thing, like you said, with the unconstitutional ordinances and laws. Andy Sheets had a case down there in Punta Gorda. He, ended up dismissing his case, voluntarily dismissing his case. There were some issues there with his lawyers and how he played his hand on that. And, immediately after he dismissed his case, I went ahead and filed mine. Not immediately, but I ended up filing mine for Charlotte County, which has pretty much the same ordinance, but we feel that we have a better chance of challenging that ordinance because it was never properly ratified. It was never brought before the county commission board. It was never discussed. It was never voted on. They just, slipped it into an already existing ordinance.
Yep.
So and again, there's people, subscribers, and people in the movement that are down there that gathered the money to give to me to file this case, because that's what it's about. It's about all us coming together and making sure that these people are accountable. Um, you know, each one of us individually can only do so much. I would love to be the guy that goes out there and does these audits, and as soon as a cop gets incorrect or disrespectful, I want to put his name on the list, and I want to go and I want to pull all his files, and I want to pull all his body cams, and I really want to put him out on Front Street. But I can't do that because that would cost me literally thousands of dollars every month. I mean, I tried it with Hilario, and they wanted like $1,800. And finally, they come back to me, and they said that originally he had 86 hours of body cam footage. Well, when I go to actually say, hey, I got the money, or I had half the money at the time, I was going to say, hey, I got the money for the deposit, and I'll get the rest up. The lady comes back and says, well, we're missing a lot of the video footage, like 76 hours. So there's only 10 hours of footage left. So, these agencies by law can routinely dump this information, their body cam footage, some of them 30 days and they dump their footage, 60 days and they dump their footage, stuff like that. So, in order for us to be more effective, we need everybody, in there coming together, doing whatever they can do, whether it's making phone calls, whether it's watching the videos, whether, they got a great job and have some extra money lying around and they want to, sponsor a lawsuit, or, maybe they have some legal knowledge themselves and they want to help type up a complaint. I know right now, B.A.N.G's looking for, a graphic designer to help out with our website, so there's all kinds of ways that people can get involved and helping to hold these people accountable. It's not just money, or it's not just picking up a camera and going out there, or, it's not just watching videos, and a lot of times I find that some in the movement are kind of more looking for entertainment than they are for change. There's a lot of people that just want to see us get arrested or get beat or get tased and stuff like that. A lot of times when I don't get arrested, some people will say, hey, you should have done this and you should have done that, and if you're not prepared to go to jail, then you shouldn't be out here doing this. Meanwhile, they're not out there putting their freedom on the line, in most respects. So, it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of people doing a lot of different things to make it all come together. If we want it to be successful, and if we want to see change, then we got to be that change that we're willing to impart. You know what I mean?
And you don't
again,
ever hear us asking for anything. If people donate,
no,
we
and
don't turn it away. Of course not. But you never hear us asking for anything. And
right.
And if you see all the people who are against us, not just the people who we're focusing on, but the people on their sideline, like, come on. You
Well,
know what's the right
what's even
side.
funny about
You've seen enough 80s movies to know, like somebody just quoted National Lampoon's Animal House. We're gonna have that parade.
I love that
We're
movie.
gonna have that parade at the end. Watch.
Toga.
Listen, but what's even funny about that? Because I frequent the troll sites and the discords and all that stuff, because I like to keep my ear on the ground, and I like to see what criticisms they have in order to sharpen what I do. I don't like being stuck in an echo chamber where everybody just agrees with me, or thinks the same way I do, because then my theories are unrefined. You know, it takes somebody looking at your theories, at your understanding, and that someone has to be someone who disagrees with you in order to try to punch holes in that, because that's the only way you're going to find holes, is by going to somebody who absolutely does not believe in what you're doing and is going to try their best to poke holes in it, and then you can find those holes and you can plug them yourself.
Yeah,
But
let me
even
plug
on the
one.
even on the troll channel, right? So I had to tell you this, buddy. Even on the troll channels, they say those Florida guys, they're not out there e-begging. You know, they're not out there asking
Right.
for donations
Nope.
every other day because their car broke down or this happened or that happened. And I'm happy to work with you guys because they're absolutely right. We're not out there for the money. You know, and we've seen a lot of change here in Florida. I myself
It's a
definitely
great
have.
bonus. I'm not gonna lie, it's a great bonus. That's
Oh,
wonderful.
absolutely.
Thank you, YouTube. But
No,
Carolina and Fort Worth, one of the big negatives is the trolls, or are the trolls. And she says, I really, really, really dislike the trolls. That's a big negative on your psyche if you let them get to you. But if you realize that our fans will skip to the part, grow them into your biggest super fans.
yeah, and you know what?
Did you get that? I don't know. I cut out like I was, but yeah, nurture them like a plant. They
No.
are,
Treat them
yeah,
like
they.
a mushroom. Keep them in the dark. Shit.
Listen, it doesn't matter what you choose in life. There's always going to be somebody who disagrees with that. You know what I mean? You could be anti-abortion or for abortion, but either way, someone's going to be against you. You could be for guns or against guns, but either way, there's going to be somebody against you. There's
Oh, thank you for
trolls.
bringing that up. Let me declare that again. I am all for all of our amendments, and including our Second Amendment. Don't believe anything you hear. Otherwise, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's just anything you do in life, you're going to have people that don't like what you do. I mean, if you homeschool your children, you know, some people aren't going to like you. If you send your kids to public school, some parents are going to judge you against that. Or vaccines, or I mean, there's 100,000,000,000 topics that people are going to disagree with you on. um, but specifically with trolls in our community, we just have to realize that these people actually have no lives. They have no lives, and they have no understanding of time management. Because what you find is you find these idiots that are um, basically going around looking for videos they do not like, and then not only spending time watching them, but then telling you how much of a loser you are for making these videos. When in fact, logically, it would seem if I'm a loser, then the person that's wasting their time watching my videos and then commenting on them has got to be even a bigger loser with even less stuff in their life to do.
I like how you
You
said
know
it
what I
one time
mean?
in a live stream. You're like, I'm a loser. That makes you a mega loser for watching
Right,
me.
right. I don't search the internet for people whose opinions and beliefs I disagree with and then watch their videos and then spend time commenting on them. I mean, what kind of life is that? You know what I mean? I actually enjoy going out and doing audits. To me, it's no big deal. Yes, I have some time off from work because I do have a job. You know, I mean, they're so sheepish and so unthinking, um, that they're put downs of like get a job, or you broke the law 20 years ago, and so you're no good today, or they're just so childish and
Yeah, we had
unintelligent
somebody
that
talking about
it just makes me chuckle.
how
Just
our bodies
it
look
just
to
makes me
them.
chuckle, these guys.
They check out our bodies,
Huh?
and they're like, "Look at you, you're chubby, or are you pregnant?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm a puffer fish, bro. It's a defense mechanism." And and they're just like, "So it's a dad bod. So what? I drink beer. I earned it." And they're checking me out, and they're checking you out, and they're like, "He's so short, he's so tall, he's so lanky." Whatever,
Listen,
man. Like, what? Okay, and the fashion police is like, look what he's wearing. Where's your fucking head at? Look at what's happening. An EMT was shot 8 times in our house because the people just burst into their house, man. And the other dude just got shot by a couple dudes, a retired cop and his son. And people argue, oh well, he wasn't obeying the simple commands. And a few hours earlier, he was on somebody else's vacant land. He had it coming.
right?
Come on. You're
No,
looking at what we're wearing while
you
we
can
do this.
definitely
I
see.
put on crazy shit. That's part of the crispy thing. Is like so you can like be like, oh, okay, there's his gimmick. But get your head in the game.
Listen, there's a case I actually wanted to bring up tonight, and I forgot where I put the link at, but it's a case out of Indiana. A gentleman had bought a Range Rover or something, I believe, with money from his father's estate after he passed or whatever. Well, this gentleman was caught selling heroin. He sold twice to undercover cops, a total like $400 worth of heroin. And so they ended up seizing his Range Rover, Land Rover, whatever. They supposedly valued at $35,000, $40,000, something like that. And the state was told by the Supreme Court that they had to relinquish the gentleman's vehicle because first it wasn't bought with illegal money, and second the forfeiture law or something like that was for like 10,000, and it was way above the value of that or something along them lines. But the bottom line was is that the Supreme Court had told the state that they had to give that property back to the young man. Well, the state is actually rejecting that, and trying to again get around that and keep the gentleman's property. And that just goes to show you that sometimes corruption don't even listen to corruption because it's so ingrained. You know what I mean? Like, obviously this court is your master. You must do what they tell you. It's the law. You know what I mean? It's pretty much black and white. And yet they're still bucking the system on giving this person his property back. We're up against a dirty machine.
Really
And
dirty.
hopefully we can make some changes, but along the lines of most good preppers is hope for the best but expect the worst. And I think we could do no less in our own lives with regards to the government. I hope for the best. I hope that the government can pull itself up and we could get good people in there and we could kind of right the ship. But I'm expecting a total meltdown of society. I'm expecting the corruption to never end. I'm expecting the taxes and the laws to grow extensively along with the debt. And I really expect the worst. I mean, the worst possible scenario that people could think of. I'm wondering why it's not already here yet. I'm wondering how they kept the curtain closed on the Oz for so long because to me it's plain as day. Um, again, I'm mystified that we've been able to keep it rolling for as long as we have with the housing collapse and um, the stock market collapse and this and that pretty much. But um, I mean, they just find some way to print some more money and keep things rolling. But I mean, obviously, that's a play that's played out and can only work for so long. And again, I don't think it's an if but a when. Um, so yeah, I mean, hope for the best with you know what we're doing to keep them accountable. But I mean, as you can see from their attitudes and from how they treat not just us but regular citizens without cameras, that it's a hard
Well,
road,
now
and we should expect the worst
on
before we expect the better.
on that point, to be fair, we have no one but two, for now, cops who have come out saying that they don't want to enforce these tyrannical laws. The first one got fired. The second one got suspended without pay.
Right, absolutely.
You see
Because
those guys?
again, they don't want those type of guys in there. They don't want guys that think or question what they're doing. They want guys that obey their orders. Does anybody know about the 29 Palm survey?
No.
No. Look it up sometime if you get a chance. It's called the 29 Palm survey, and I believe it was done back in the 80s. But one of the questions on there was if the United States government ordered um, a gun confiscation, would you shoot a citizen that disobeyed that order, or would you, arrest or whatever? I can't remember the exact wording, but I'm pretty sure it was shoot. But there was such an uproar about it that they ended up taking the question off the questionnaire. And again, it was at a Marine base, 29 Palms in California. Um, and it's called a 29 Palms survey. But yeah, definitely check it out. But this is something that the government's been thinking about for a long time. Um, Confiscating guns, putting people under the boot. But it's a delicate process here in America
You
because
thought I was
there's
playing.
so many people that are armed. And like with the 29 Palm survey, the government's found out that a lot of Americans even still are going to go against those orders, um, which is why a lot of times you hear talk of the blue helmets coming in to quell
It's
a
the
national
UN.
emergency, because that's exactly the way it'll go. A lot of times people are like, well, our government, our soldiers, they won't go against the American citizens. And you know what, you're probably 100% right. But somebody who will go against the United States citizens is a platoon of German UN troops or a platoon of Chinese UN troops that are stationed, in Nebraska or wherever you're at. Um, so
So fun logs 60K plus miles a year for 25 plus years, and you're lucky to stay away from drama. You are lucky. Yeah. I mean, I had a pretty clean record when I lived in Miami, where I mean, as bad as a rep as they have, they fight crime out there instead of just giving soccer moms tickets.
it
Like
should be the last question, Eyes.
they got more tickets than the sand on the beach, man. When I moved up to Tampa, and it just depends on where you live. And yeah, you're lucky.
Right there. Question 46.
Oh.
I mean, that question right there should tell every red-blooded American everything he needs to know about where he stands with the government.
I put a link in the chat too to this, so everybody can look at it themselves.
Yeah, this was a real questionnaire that they passed out at the 29 Palms
On May
base in California.
Yep, 1990.
And yeah, it's definitely, again, something that the government has been thinking about for a long time. So, when it seems weird that everything's corrupt and how the government doesn't really pay attention to the citizens and doesn't really do things in the citizens' interest, it's because they don't give a damn. It's never been about us. Not from day one. It's never been about us. It's about their posterity. It's not about everyone's posterity. It's about their posterity, just like they put in the Constitution.
Yep. 29 stumps, huh?
Keep.
So listen, guys, it's late. I got to roll.
Yep.
But I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I hope I imparted some useful information. We do have the links. We'll put those up in the chat and in the comment section probably tomorrow.
Yep.
And that way you guys can look over the information yourself.
That's correct, Doc. The Marines can, since they're just a department of the Navy.
So,
and Fawn, you did have a negative interaction. Congrats.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Good seeing everybody. Doc, is that Doc Sean Barry you're talking to, right?
Yes, sir. And thank you, Captain.
So he's on
thank
the
you,
stream.
Eyes.
Doc, give me a text after the stream, Doc.
Later, News Now, South Florida.
Yep, we'll talk to all you guys later.
Yep. Thanks, News Now. All right, guys. Thanks again for coming out. We appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your family. We're going to be here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights now. And we got the Facebook B.A.N.G page going. We also all have other channels and Facebook fan pages going now. Usually you can find them in the description of our videos, plus our email addresses and anything of that nature.
Yep.
So if you guys need to get in contact with us, I do have some people that have been getting in contact with us that has some stories they want to get out, and we'll try to get to everybody as soon as we can. Definitely email Eyes on the State, Rights Crispy, GA Gladdy Auditor, and News Now South Florida. I'm getting a lot of emails. I'm about filled up with what I can do right now, but if you give those guys an email, they'll help you out, or they'll we'll all get together and work on the situation together, something along those lines.
Yep. And Saturday we are talking about 5G. That's right, Fake News.
5G.
That's our topic for Saturday night. And something else. What was it, Kevin? I don't know if you remember.
No, I think that was it for Saturday night's 5G. And,
right on.
As usual, we'll go over whatever else we could see and discuss.
All right, folks.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.